President Obama apparently not that big a fan of the Washington press corps, Susan Faricio. Ann Compton, who covered the White House beat for decades, telling C-SPAN in an interview about a conversation an off-the-record conversation, I should add, she had with the president.
I have seen in the last year Barack Obama really angry twice. Both were off-the-record times. One profanity-laced, where he thought the press was making too much of scandals that he didn't think were scandals.
Okay, so Barack Obama is upset and used some profanity and says the press is making scandals out of things that are not scandals. Does any of that surprise you?
Oh, he's had a rough time with the press lately. Let's face it, this started as a love affair with the president back in 2008. I covered the president's campaign along with the rest of the press corps.
You're not saying you were in love with him.
And I'll say, I did see the press was really enamored with him.
I can't deny that for a moment.
That's just a known fact, okay? And so now, over the years, that relationship has just really, really frayed. And to the point where it's probably one of the worst relationships between a press and a president that a lot of folks in the press corps have seen in their careers.
But I think a lot of our viewers would be surprised to hear that, because they think there's still some sort of romance going on. But in fact, a lot of journalists are ticked off at the Obama administration over surveillance and prosecution of journalists, or naming somebody as a co-conspirator, for example. And it's no secret. I mean, look, the president, certainly in the last year, has gotten pretty bad coverage to match all the setbacks he's had in office. And so he apparently let loose in this bit of a tirade.
Well, there's a couple things that set the press off, that have kind of set them in the relationship they're in now. Accessibility and transparency. Both those things, the press say, are badly missing with this administration. And so the two sides are on speaking terms, but the president is wondering what happened to the coverage he was getting 6 years ago. It's long gone, and listen, the press has an obligation to hold the White House, to hold the president accountable. They know this in the administration, but they run the White House, they overrule the press corps in a way that just makes you wonder if they really understand what freedom of the press is, what open government is, what transparency is. Ironically, though, after the president said he was going to run the most transparent administration in history, that's really backfired. The press is wondering, hey, where's all that transparency we were going to get?
Does it bother you at all that the president is venting in this session and maybe used a few curse words?
Well,
is that healthy to be able to have these off-the-record sessions?
What I would like to say is if he's venting, I hope the press vented back, because they certainly are talking a lot about it amongst themselves, about this lack of accessibility. Why I hope that what I didn't hear out of the Ann Compton interview, although she did talk about accessibility issues, is whether the press is willing to say to the president, hey, what's happening with us having the right kind of access so we can do our job?
Right, because it wasn't off the record, we don't
know
the details of who said what.
I don't like those off the record.
That's what I was sort of getting at it. Well, on the one hand, if you don't have those off the record conversations, then basically you have even less access. But what always bothered me is President says something. I mean, it's not that he hasn't publicly indicated that he thinks certain scandals are overplayed or overblown by the media, but now they're all hamstrung. They've agreed to off the record. They can't really tell us, maybe because Ann's no longer on the beach. He felt like she could lift the curtain a little bit. Also, the president gave an interview the other day in which he said he doesn't watch the cable news bloviators in the morning. He watches ESPN and SportsCenter. Maybe that's healthy.
Well, I mean, he does get a list of articles, everything cut and clipped and delivered to him. We know he's getting the news.
It's not like he's tuned out.
Right. Look, we all know in the press the president is really not a very thick-skinned president as presidents go.
Which is a little surprising because, when you run for office, you got to go through all the trials and tribulations. You get attacked all the time. But maybe he doesn't particularly like hearing it from
his career went off in a stratospheric fashion. He never really, he lost maybe one race, but he never lost much in his career.
Yeah.
And here he is president of the United States. I suspect it's hard for him to handle the negativity he's getting from the media right now, especially from the punditry, which they're all over him on both sides for a variety of reasons. So it can't be easy for him.
Maybe that's why he's watching SportsCenter and letting a few curse words slip in
They're not talking about him on ESPN, right?
We're back here next week with more After the Buzz.